The arithmetic of reincarnation. One of the first questions people have about reincarnation is that if the world population is increasing, are more animals becoming human? Is this the reason that animal populations in the world have come down in the recent past? Is the population of the world, animal and human put together, a fixed number? These questions come from the ignorance of believing and thinking of existence numerically. When you talk about life energy, it is not in terms of numbers. You cannot think in terms of, okay, only one person died, but how are 10 people born today? It is not in terms of numbers like that. Numbers are only for bodies. Life does not happen in numbers. When you talk about the unbounded, there is no such arithmetic. When you are talking of life, you are probably thinking there is a being. What if there is no being? That is why Gautama went on saying you are anatma. This was total sacrilege for the Hindus. He said this because if it is atma, there could be any number of them. But if it is anatma, how many can there be? How many non-beings can you create? How many emptinesses can you create? The question now sounds absurd. You always think in terms of numbers because it comes from the dimension of your experience, which is very limited. In reality, if you go on producing bodies, they will be occupied anyway. Life will happen. So where will the karma come from for them? Where is the karmic substance for them? There is plenty of this substance in the existence. In reality, if you want, this person who is sitting here right now is one person can take on a million bodies with the same karmic content that he or she has now. It is possible. There are many situations where yogis have taken up two bodies with the same karmic substance. They took on two bodies. So the question about numbers is not a relevant question. It is a logical, mathematical, arithmetic question, but life does not happen like that. Life is just one. Numbers are only in your mind. There is no such thing in existence. Let us say there is a pond full of water and you dip your bucket and take out water in it. Can you say that I have taken this particular water? It is just some water. Once again, if you dip the bucket into the pond, you will get some more water, but there is no such thing as this water or that water. It is similar with life. The fundamental life force is not in terms of numbers. Just one is enough. One can populate the whole population. What we are referring to as the being is beyond the physical. Once there is no physical, there is no boundary. For that which has no boundary, there is no 1 or 2 or 10 or million. So that is not the way to think at all. Science has been successful in cloning plant life for several decades now. It has in recent years been able to clone animals like sheep and dogs. Of late, multiple streams of research are afoot to clone the human being as well, and the widespread belief is that it is just a matter of time before they succeed. How does cloning relate to the theory of karma? Where will the software for the cloned life come from? You must understand that by cloning, all that you are doing is just producing a human body. If it is hospitable enough, if all the ingredients are there, life will occupy it. It does not matter how you produced it. But when there are so many women who are perfectly able to bear children, I don't see why billions of dollars are being wasted to do it in a laboratory. When there is a pleasurable way of creating children, you don't have to make it so obscene and ugly with all those test tubes and other things from which the baby comes out. Above all, a woman does not just give body to the child. she molds the child when it is in her womb. Depending on how she is during the pregnancy, a whole lot of things develop for the child when it is still in the womb. Elaborate care used to be taken in this country about this once a woman conceived. Every step of what she should do, what she should not do, how she should do it, whose face she should see, whose face she should not see, all this was regulated because everything has an influence upon the unborn child. This is because she is not only giving it a body but also molding the consciousness of the person who is to be born. You must understand that you are manufacturing the next generation of people. How the world will be tomorrow is determined right now in your body. It is a tremendous responsibility. It needs to be handled that way. Now, just because with technology we know how to do a few fanciful things with the outside world, we don't have to do everything we can do. This is very juvenile. This is the source of destruction on this planet. As a race, we humans have not matured mentally. We must be able to take a decision as to what to do and what not to do based on what is needed, not on what we can do. Now, is it possible that a woman can prepare herself for the possibility of a being with a higher consciousness coming to her as a child? Definitely. But if a woman has such aspirations, it is best that she works upon herself well before the pregnancy happens, because during the pregnancy usually their situations becomes such that they are unable to attend to these subtleties. So at that time her being able to maintain a certain level of consciousness could be rare but not impossible. There are certain other things that can be done, but she may not be able to do them by herself. If she seeks assistance from the right kind of source, it could be done for her. But in general, what she can do by herself is to become generally meditative. If she brings that quality into her before such a situation arises in her body, then the results will be good. To be meditative, to be very loving, could ensure a pleasant being. This is not necessarily so because there are various other aspects, but by and large, this will ensure a pleasant being. Now, if you are thinking of producing an ideal being, yes, there are ways to do this. You can do things so that the best possible being will inhabit the small crucible of life that has begun to happen in your womb. For this, you have to go beyond the karmic substance or the karmic software that you carry within you and attract something that is of a different nature from who you are. This would take a completely different kind of work. Generally, the mother will not be able to do it by herself and will need help from someone else who can set up the situation for her. At one time, we thought we would roll out a whole set of processes that such people could undergo at the Dhyana Linga. Even otherwise, from the day of conception, if she remains in that kind of atmosphere every day, definitely she would attract a certain type of being, but that would make the Dhyana Linga purpose specific. Otherwise, being in a consecrated atmosphere like that would attract a certain type of being. If we do something more, we could also bring down those kinds of beings who are unwilling to come down and be reborn but are not fit enough to dissolve completely. These are beings who have transcended certain limitations in the disembodied state, where they are aware enough not to be driven by tendencies, yet are not free enough to burst the bubble and go. They have not attained to their ultimate liberation, but they have reached a certain point of freedom. Such beings can be brought down. There have also been situations where beings who don't belong to this realm have been brought down into human wombs. There are many conditions for this. If all those things are fulfilled, we can definitely ensure that certain kinds of beings get attracted.